Am I the asshole for not telling my daughter's mother her secret words? Cast. Me M36. My daughter Clara F12. My ex-wife Sarah F37. Few backstory details. Sarah and I got married when Clara was born, and separated when she was 6 years old. Clara spends her time 50-50 between us with 2-week splits. We both live in the same city, so her friends and schooling are consistent, not constantly switching back and forth. The event in question. This all started when I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien to Clara 2 years ago. We talked about how he was a linguist and had actually created several languages from scratch for the story. This captured my daughter's imagination. She has been obsessed with linguistics ever since, and I have been happy to provide as many texts and information as I can. Almost all of it is for higher-level students, but I do my best to help her understand it. I am definitely not a linguist, and she definitely knows more than me at this point. For about a year she has been creating her own language which she calls Nista. I think that's the spelling. It is only verbal. This language isn't just English with different sounds for the different words. It is actually a new language. She has created different conjugations, syntax, and grammar. Just one example is a bunch of different suffixes to indicate emotion that can be attached to any word. Clara and I speak Nista together for probably about 60% of our conversations. It is the highlight of my entire life. I cannot believe how creative my daughter is. Sarah remarried 5 years ago, and I haven't been in a relationship since we divorced. Clara prefers her time at mine, something I definitely don't encourage. I want her to be happy at both, but she has never been comfortable around her stepdad and stepbrother. I think he is around the same age as her, but I'm not positive. I knew that Clara had never taught Sarah any Nista, which I was selfishly kinda happy about. I loved having this language that only me, my daughter, and her friends shared. However, when Sarah dropped Clara off this week, she informed me that she hadn't spoken anything but that gobbledygook for the entire 2 weeks she was with her. Sarah then demanded that I teach her the secret words. I refused and explained that if Sarah wanted her to know any Nista, I stressed its name because Sarah kept disparaging it, she would have taught her it. I then closed the door in her face. Sarah texted me saying there could be an emergency and she would need to know. I said that she still knows English if there is an emergency. I have talked to her teachers at school. Her English teacher said that Clara has shown her the language, but only briefly. In all of her classes, including English, she speaks English. Thinking it over, I don't know if I did the right thing or not. This is a massive part of our daughter's life, and one that she isn't letting her mother into. She has told me that she wants to go to college for linguistics, so this isn't anything temporary. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You sound like a great dad and she sounds like an awesome kid. As long as she is doing well in school and socially, I wouldn't worry. Sounds like things are becoming an issue at the other house though? You might want to talk to her about what's going on and how she is feeling. Not the asshole, as it's your child's creation and she's free to share it with whoever she wants. It is not your obligation to teach your ex. That being said, a conversation with your daughter about when it is appropriate to use the language may be in order. Refusing to talk to her mother in English is not a good thing, and at 12 she's old enough to realize what she is doing. Not the asshole, but why she refused to communicate with her mom for an entire 2 weeks really needs to be addressed. Hadn't spoken anything but that gobbledygook for the entire 2 weeks she was with her. That is seriously concerning. I'm getting the impression, like another comment or mentioned, that your daughter has trouble seeing her parents move on from each other. Your ex started dating, so she's bearing the brunt of it now, but when you find a nice woman again, she might behave like this with you too. It's not healthy for Clara to feel this way, and I'm sure she's hurting a lot. I'm going to say nah. Edit, I think maybe some individual and group therapy could smooth some tensions over. It's very strange that you don't know much about your daughter's stepbrother. Perhaps she's taking cues from you. Clara and I speak Nista together for probably about 60% of our conversations. Info, how is this even possible? My sister used to compete in linguistics contests as a teenager and share a lot of what she'd learned back then with me. I am a professional translator. I think I know a thing or two about languages, and I'm sorry, but I find it extremely hard to believe that a 12-year-old has developed a language that can be used for a casual conversation and then taught it to you. You cannot use Tolkien's languages for casual conversations, and he's probably spent more time developing them than your daughter has spent existing. I'm going to reserve my judgment for now, but this just doesn't ring true to me. Info: why don't you know such a basic fact as the age of her stepbrother? Sounds as if there is a clear line between your house and your ex's and Clara doesn't exist for you when she's there, and vice versa. Nah, but this isn't about the language. If your daughter isn't even communicating at her mom's, there is a problem that both parents need to address. Everyone sucks here. The language isn't the issue. The issue is that Clara didn't speak English to her mom for 2 weeks. If Sarah's report is accurate, that's a serious issue that learning Nista won't fix. The adults playing with translation games are substituting a side issue rather than addressing the real one. Not the asshole. If your daughter doesn't want to share her language with her mother, that's fine. Just make sure she also understands that it's pretty rude to speak it whilst she's with her mother or anyone else who doesn't know it. Not the asshole. That is between your daughter and her mother. Also, your daughter sounds like a gifted genius and good on you for encouraging her interests. Nah, but I might talk to your daughter about using her language to poke at her mom with. Ask her why she did it, what she thought of her own actions, and ask how she might manage her feelings differently next time. I admire her intelligence and creativity too, but refusing to communicate with her family for 2 weeks? That's a bratty thing to do, and should be corrected. You need to have a word with your daughter about treating her mother so badly. She prefers you, and that's fine, but you need to make it clear to her that you will not tolerate her using something fun and creative that is between you to intentionally hurt and exclude her mother. If she gets an inkling that you will tolerate this, then you are opening up a world of hurt and persistent misbehavior, as she will use this gulf in between her parents to manipulate you both. I have seen it over and over again. Nah, but if you let your daughter away with this, you're halfway to creating one. No assholes here, but you gotta look into why she feels so alienated at her mother's house. It's always ideal for a child to have a good relationship with all of their parents. It sounds like the issue isn't actually that Sarah doesn't know Clara's language, it's that your daughter is essentially refusing to talk to her mother. You don't need to teach Sarah the new language, but you do need to talk to Clara about why she's choosing to alienate her mother. I think you need to get Clara in with a child psychologist and stop being so passive about her favoring you over her mother, especially if you think the only reason is that your ex remarried. It's not fair to her that Clara only favors you because you happen to have not moved on yet, and if your ex is truly doing her best by Clara, wouldn't you want them to have a good relationship? Honestly, I think nah. Something very strange is going on if your daughter will only speak a language no one understands at her mother's house. While I don't think your ex's methods are sound, I think her concern is valid. I think you need to either have an honest conversation with Clara about why she won't speak English in her mother's house, not that it's wrong or not, but just getting to the bottom of why she doesn't want them to be able to understand her, or have her start seeing a psychologist. Maybe there is something in her mother's treatment that is making her feel isolated. Maybe her stepdad or stepbrother are pushing her away or bullying her, so she's retreating into something that feels safe. Whatever the case, you should be privy to it. Nah. Encourage D to be more open with EXW, tell her the language is awesome and she should share it with her family. Encourage EXW to think about why D is closed off and what she can do to repair that relationship. Maybe even come up with a strategy together. You share a child, work with her. And you can stand over and smile at being the bigger man in all of this, progressing everyone's life ever closer towards happiness and unity, holding steadfast under the weight of those massive balls between your legs. Best dad ever. Of course you're not the asshole. I'm going to leave it to people with some insight and actual life experience adjacent to yours to give you very reasonable advice, but here's the 2 cents of a 22-year-old whose parents are still together. It seems like your daughter has made up her mind as to who she trusts, and her mother doesn't have any right to your daughter's creativity if Claire doesn't want to share. You've checked that it's not an issue outside of your ex's experience, and she's clearly a very clever girl who can tell that her mother doesn't respect her creativity or interest. I would consider talking to your ex about approaching the subject with respect and also talking about who Claire really would be the happiest with. Nah, it's understandable that your ex would want to understand what Clara is saying, but it really isn't yours to tell. It is quite literally Clara's language and she can share it with whomever she pleases. And everyone needs to understand that. That being said, it sounds like Clara is really going through some things with her mom remarrying and all that. You don't want to tip the scales any more than they're already tipped, you know? And she might be in need of some counseling to help her get through this transition because that can really be rough on a kid. Her speaking her language entirely when around people who she chooses not to teach the language to is a bit concerning. Not the asshole. If your daughter wants to make that your guy's special thing, then she'll do it. If she wanted to teach her mother, she would have, although by the sounds of it, I wouldn't be surprised if her mother insulted her for it either way. Your daughter will do what she is comfortable with. She could end up seeing it as broken trust if you told her mother without her knowledge. Not the asshole. It's your daughter's language, seriously clever kid by the way, and she can teach it to whomever she likes. I feel bad for your ex, but it's really not your problem. Maybe a way to meet her halfway would be to teach her I love you in Nista or something. That way Clara might feel more connected to her mum too? Not the asshole. Your daughter can make her own decisions. There may be specific things she only does at her mother's place, and things she does at yours, and the language is one specific example. The fact that her mother is both belittling it and demanding to be included are prime examples of why she shouldn't be included if she isn't going to respect it. Then it really just comes off as her wanting to pry into your daughter's conversations. She has taken no steps to encourage your daughter either, which is not great either. I happen to agree with another comment that she is likely gifted. As long as your daughter is being responsible with her created language, using it at appropriate times, her mother should butt out, period. Info: how is your ex's name spelled? You keep alternating. Not the asshole. Mom just probably feels left out. Hopefully the two of them can connect over something. Nah, others have given great advice, but I'd also like to recommend you point your daughter in the direction of David J. Peterson, a conlanger who created the languages for Game of Thrones, The 100, and other popular TV shows. He's on Twitter, which I don't use or I'd give you a link, is friendly, and gives great advice to young aspiring conlangers. Not the asshole. I am a linguist and my dog is called Nista. Your daughter does not share the language with your ex-wife because your ex doesn't appreciate it. If she did, the daughter would. You did nothing wrong. Please continue. What if there's an emergency? LMAO, like your daughter forgot English. Tears of joy. Not the asshole. Your ex is jealous. Her problem, not yours. Maybe if Sarah didn't call it gobbledygook, then Clara would want to teach her. Sarah is approaching this entirely the wrong way. If she showed interest around Clara, then maybe Clara would want to teach her. But Sarah doesn't sound like the type to make changes to see positive results. She seems more like she's pouting about not being in on the language and is probably pushing Clara away even more. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. But maybe sit down with your daughter and just talk with her. Ask why she doesn't want to teach her mom, and understand it from her side. She doesn't have to teach her mom, but I understand why the mom's feelings are hurt. She's fully be excluded in something that she finds important. And one that she isn't letting her mother into. Probably because her mother is disparaging about it. That gobbledygook for the entire 2 weeks she was with her. Sarah then demanded that I teach her the secret words. I refused and explained that if Sarah wanted her to know any Nista, I stressed its name because Sarah kept disparaging it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It is up to Sarah who she shares the information with. There is a reason she has just shared it with you, most likely because you have shown her an interest in what she wants to learn. If her mother wants to know, she should show an interest and not talk down about it by saying gobbledygook. Not the asshole. And I'm just stuck thinking about how useful emotion suffixes would be. I wish people would consistently announce their emotions out loud like that instead of relying on me to pick up on tone of voice. Though I suppose the suffixes would still depend on the person being honest about their feelings. Not the asshole. If Sarah wants to know the secret words, she just have to ask her daughter about it. She have to show that Nista is something she find interesting and not some gibberish. If Clara feels like her mother is mocking her language, I don't think she'll want to share it with her. If I'll be you, I would have done the same thing. If Clara wants to show Sarah, then it's okay. But if Clara doesn't want to show Sarah, Sarah has to put things into perspective and ask herself what she did wrong. Not the asshole. I bet her calling it gobbledygook had something to do with her not sharing it. Go figure. Face with rolling eyes. Not the asshole. It's great that you support her creativity and it's cool that you have a secret language with your daughter. If your daughter wanted to share this interest with her mother, she would probably have done so. This is something special that connects the two of you, and now your ex is probably jelly and wants in. Your daughter is lucky to have you. No, but I would let daughter know that Sarah asked you, so if she wants to she can impart the info. Otherwise the language sort of belongs to your daughter. Curious though, who was daughter talking to for 2 weeks in a language they did not understand? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I need Sarah's side and understanding of the situation to do a nah vote, but so far she comes across as dismissive to her daughter's interests. This is definitely something you need to sit down and discuss with her. Personally speaking, I would ask Clara if it was okay if you spoke with Sarah about her feeling isolated, set aside as well. Like, what would it take for Clara to feel included? Etc. Not the asshole. This is Clara's language and it's entirely up to Clara who you share it with. If you were to share it with others, like your ex, it would be a betrayal of Clara's trust. As the ex wants to learn it so bad, she should ask Clara. Not the asshole. If your daughter is smart enough to create her own language, she can make her own decisions about who to share it with. Not the asshole. It isn't your language to share. Not the asshole. And I wish I were 12 so I could be friends with your awesome daughter. Excellent job supporting her passions. Not the asshole. As long as her English doesn't suffer, and it seems that it doesn't, there is no harm done. BB Buit. You could encourage your daughter to either teach her mom or be more polite around her mom. You are the asshole. Seems like you are enjoying having this secret with your daughter, and you have no interest in trying to figure out what issues she is having at mom's house. Very strange that you don't know the age of her step-sibling after 5 years. You also give no indication of why she might be uncomfortable around them after 5 years. Your daughter needs counseling, and you need to interact socially with adults and start dating again. Seems like Clara doesn't like to share her parents, and probably why she prefers the person who hasn't moved on yet. Not the asshole. She clearly doesn't actually care about knowing it, so why teach her? Not the asshole. This language is hers and her teaching it is a gift only she can give. She has made the choice not to teach her mother it, and it would be a betrayal if you did. She sounds like quite an amazing person. You've done well. Not the asshole. Honestly, the best thing you can do for your kid is stay out of it and keep being her safe place where she feels comfortable. From your comments, it's unlikely you can get more custody, so just keep handling your 2 weeks and letting your daughter know she's loved. Not the asshole. Based on some other comments I've seen in this thread, it sounds like there is a deeper issue. Perhaps Clara needs to see a counselor? Clara's actions towards her mother could be totally normal pre-teen hormones, but there could also be a serious issue occurring with how she is being treated at her mother's. In turn, her seeing a counselor could result in family counseling being needed. With that being said, it is awesome that you are encouraging your daughter's creativity, and you should definitely counting along that path. Not the asshole. You're right, if she'd want her mom to know, she'd have taught her. That she is using it around her shows that she is trying to see her reaction though. She wants her mom to have a real interest in it, instead of calling it gibberish and being mad about it. I guess it's a test of their bond from your kid. You could sit your kid down and talk about if she has any interest in teacher her mom and why or why not she feels that way, but otherwise, it's her choice. Not the asshole. Please allow your daughter to keep her language to those she wants to speak it to. If they start leaning it when she doesn't want them to, she might just throw the whole language away in begrudgment and start losing interest in linguistics if they take the merriment and exclusivity out of it. Maybe ask Clara that if she doesn't want them learning, speaking it, to stop speaking it at her mom's house, because it sounds like she's mainly doing it to upset her mom and her family, which is not a nice thing to do. Info, when you write. She informed me that she hadn't spoken anything but that gobbledygook for the entire 2 weeks she was with her. Does she mean that your daughter was directly responding to questions from the mom, stepdad with the language, or was she just muttering it throughout the week to herself? I'm having trouble imagining what a kid speaking their own language in defiance of the mother looks like. Not the asshole. Here is a free online course you and your daughter can take together about linguistics. It's not easy, but she seems to know what she's talking about, and this is a great course. I'm an English teacher and I've taken it. Keep encouraging her.